the Sisters of St. Joseph are an international community. We're all over the world. We're in Africa, India, Asia, South America, here, whatever, Canada. But we all go back to one little town in France called Le Puy, L-E-P-U-Y. And there we were founded in 1650 by a group of 6 very simple French women who wanted to live together, pray together, and serve. That was serve God, serve their friend, their fellow people. So that's where it all started and grew from there. And as each group got large enough, a bishop in an adjacent diocese would say, well, would some of you come over and work in my place? So it went from Le Puy to Annecy to Clermont to Chambéry, all over France. During the French Revolution, all religious orders were suppressed, and we actually had 6 of our sisters go to the guillotine. So the others all went, they scattered went back to their homes, and then back in 1806, the Bishop of Lyon asked Mother Fontaine, I don't know if you've heard of Fontaine Hall, Mother Fontaine, to reestablish the order. So she did, and in 1836, the Bishop of St. Louis in Missouri asked Sisters of St. Joseph to come to America. So 6 Sisters of St. Joseph came to America, and they were in St. Louis, and they taught children who were deaf. There probably was a measles epidemic or something like that, so that this whole problem with children who were deaf. And then from there, we spread all over the United States. So there are literally thousands of us all over the world. I belong to the Sisters of St. Joseph of Brentwood, because as each new place was established, it kind of became independent of the others. So here we have, for instance, we have Boston, we have Erie, Pennsylvania, we have Philadelphia, we have Brentwood, each one a separate entity. And then, but we do get together, but we have the common history and the common traditions and the common purpose. That's a long-winded way of saying how we got here.
How do you feel about the diminishing numbers of nuns in the college?
I'm sad. I'm very sad. I'm sad about the diminishing numbers, not only for our college, but for so many of the Catholic schools that had to close. But that's how society is. So what's God's plan for us? So there are not going to be that many religious communities, or religious communities that are going to be different. Not the way they are now. Certainly the way they were when I first entered, which was 50 years ago, is very different to the way it is today. I wouldn't be sitting here dressed like this. You know, I have a habit on. I'm not sure I would be as free to speak with you as I am now. So all of those changes are good. But with every change, there's a positive and a negative. So I do feel sad about that, but I feel hopeful that we are emerging and will emerge better and stronger, but just different.
I think this goes back to St. Joseph's, the Sister of St. Joseph in Brentwood, the mission of love of God to the neighbor without distinction.
Love of God and love of neighbor, right. And I trust and I believe that St. Joseph will help us, will help the college, and will help our congregations.
So do you think with the changing of nuns and the changing of the world that that we've been able to maintain the Catholic values and the college mission?
Well, I think we're trying. I think it's a constant struggle. I think certainly the way, if you are Catholic, the way you were raised now and the way I was raised is very, very different. And I'm not sure that in terms of religious education for children today, they have enough of the foundation that they had when I was younger. And I think that's missing. And I think it's good to talk about love of God and love Jesus and love your neighbor, but we have to give some of the doctrine of the church in order for us to grow and develop. And so I think that we need to change. I think we need to do more in terms of sharing those values as we try as best we can, yet giving everyone their freedom. That's a struggle that we're continually working with.
Do you think the diminishing number of sisters has an impact on the college mission?
I was big on mission. I was the person who pushed the mission the most, because it's with all the sisters around, they didn't have to really do that. But out in Patchogue, we didn't have all the sisters. Mm-hmm. And I also lived with some sisters who worked for a Catholic Health Center, mm-hmm. and they were in charge of mission identity. So that had been sort of burned into my brain, that the mission has to be up front. Mm-hmm. So all those banners and things you see at graduation and investiture and so forth, they sort of began with me, because I had a few cohorts out in Patchogue, and one of them made the first banner, the Integrity banner. And it was just beautiful. And then we just added to it each year. And then each year we just keep circling around those values. Yeah. So to try to brainwash you, actually, to get you to understand that no matter what you're doing in class, you're going to forget things. But one hopes you don't forget those values, mm-hmm. or practicing those values, because that's the mission, and intellectual and spiritual values will certainly cover your academic life, mm-hmm. that you keep reading, you keep thinking, you're critical in your decision making, but the mission was very important to me because I had seen what it had done to shape the Catholic healthcare system in Brooklyn and Queens. That was a big deal.
If you had to pick up your favorite memory from St. Joseph's College, what would it be and why?
I've thought about that question. That gave me more difficulty than any other, I think. I don't think there is any one. I think that the memories that I have of some very difficult times, and I think it's important always to know that difficulties come and they have to be faced, and you can't ignore them. They help to shape you as students, shape faculty, shape institutions. But you have to get past the difficulties. And so I would say when I look back, I have very happy memories of teaching, because I was doing full-time teaching in the English department for 19 years, from 1950 until 1969. So some of my happiest memories are of some of those students, and I've stayed in touch with some of them, just working with them, watching them grow, watching them come to understand literature, and with that, to understand what I consider to be so important, critical thinking, the ability to analyze, the ability to understand why something is said this way. We're living now in a world of tweets, and tweets don't tell you very much. So part of that, very happy memories of teaching. I loved it. And then in 1969, I was appointed dean. We were just here in Brooklyn. There were 569 students. Catholic colleges throughout the country were beginning to close. It was a difficult time for everybody. It wasn't a great economic time. And so Sister George Acquin became president. I became the dean, and what are we going to do? And I would say when I look back, I have, among my very happy memories, a sense of very real purpose, a sense that we were doing something and doing our very best to make it happen, because we believed in higher education. We believed in that as the way to the future for the students we were working with, the way to happiness and success. So the struggles and the achievements, each one of them in its own way was a happiness. Certainly happy to get past each struggle and to get on to the next achievement. With that, I think one of the things that still makes me happy is the sense of a team, the sense of people working together, pooling their resources to achieve what needed to be achieved. And I think in the world we're living in, there is now so much competition that it's important to emphasize that we all do better when we work together. I think that has gotten lost to some extent over the last few years. I'm hoping that here at the college, where students can, if you want a new club, you apply to have a new club, and you show that there's a reason for it and you've got a base for it. I think all of that is a form of working together as a team. And each of those team successes, I think, brings a sense of happiness. Every Middle States visit, and we have one coming this next February or March, when the team went out the door, there was always a great sense of achievement and happiness and success. It's over, and they're gone, and we have done well. And certainly, among the things that I treasure are the faculty. I shouldn't say the things I treasure. Among the memories I treasure are of many of the faculty, because they are truly very dedicated to the students, dedicated to wanting the students to develop fully as persons. And that has been a major objective of this institution.
We've talked about change and how the college has been changing since the beginning. And something that has changed a lot is the faculty. Like, how do you feel about the diminishing amount of number of nuns that exist in St. Joseph's now?
Well, I'm sorry, but here we are, and this is the way it's going to be. That's all I can say. I'm sorry. I think the Sisters of St. Joseph certainly played a significant part in the history of this institution. Those first sisters and the congregation, with the financial support it gave, the congregation was responding to a need. You look back, and we know from history, New York State tended to be anti-Catholic. I don't think it really is now. We're much too diverse. But it was anti-Catholic in its origins and its attitudes. And while graduates of the Academy of St. Joseph in Brentwood were academically qualified to go to Barnard College here in the city, up near Columbia, they were not welcome socially. And so the sisters decided that they needed to establish a college that would welcome the graduates of their academies. And so St. Joseph's College was put in place, was developed, with full support from the congregation, both financially and in terms of personnel. So I'm sorry that there will be no more of this, and it's going to come back to you to carry forward the mission, to take with you from the college some sense of what it means to be in this kind of an atmosphere, and to convey that to all the people you meet for the rest of your lives, and to, I hope, to cherish some sense of what it was like while you were here, when you saw the last of the sisters, practically speaking.
What do you wish for the future of St. Joe's?
Well, I hope it continues. I hope it continues. I hope it continues in Brooklyn, because I think Brooklyn is a special place. That Brooklyn has certainly evolved a great deal since I started coming here, and I hope it grows. But I would like to see it grow a little bit, but I wouldn't like to see it get so big that it loses the personal quality that I think is one of its greatest strengths. The relationship between students and faculty, the close relationship among students, I think you don't always get that. And I interviewed a transfer student yesterday who was coming from an upstate state university, and she is, I mean, that's basically the reason she's transferring. She felt kind of lost, and she wants her sister had gone here and liked it very much, so she already knew something about it. but she felt a different climate would be better for her. So I think we want to hold on to that as we grow and change.
Let me give you the word of advice that Sister George Acquin gave in her last interview, about a year before she died. And when she was asked, what would you wish for those who come after you? And her comment was, have heart and hold on. And that's the final advice I would give to you. Have heart and hold on and move forward and have very happy lives. Thank you.